When Nicholas Falcone and Naomi Lanasa wed in 1935, they were excited to raise an American family. Both of them were raised in immigrant homes with parents who spoke only Italian, but the two sought to raise their daughters in the American way. The Falcones had 3 daughters, each of whom married non-Italian men. They took their husbands' names, and each of their surnames became foreign to the Italian tongue. Their youngest daughter, Margaret, went on to have 3 daughters of her own, each of whom in turn married non-Italian men and took non-Italian surnames, which they then gave to their children. This is the nature of immigration and assimilation. It is to be expected and celebrated. And although we each inherited our father's histories and cultures through their names, we also inherited our mother's cultures through their recipes and food. The smell of spaghetti sauce is the smell of home for me. When I am away from home and aching for something to remind me of my parents or sisters or my many aunts, uncles, and cousins, I put on a pot of boiling water and make spaghetti. Although the food may not taste the exact same, it still reminds me of home. These recipes that have been passed down through generations by word of mouth, that have been written and rewritten on recipe cards and in recipe books, and in the modern era are even shared via text, are our cultural and familial inheritance.
This is my grandma's recipe, actually. This is Milma's recipe. She sent it to me when she found out that I got a pasta maker, because I made pasta by myself without a pasta maker last year, and it was extremely difficult. So my friends actually got this for me for my birthday, and they were like, "Oh yeah, pasta maker for you, dinner for us." You know, it's a win-win.
Most of the meals that I make for my friends, like when I make a lot of food on purpose, it's always Italian food. Italian food just is, I think, the best comfort food and the best meals to share with people, because you can make so much food and it's always so good.
We have comfort meals that we make just when we're not feeling good. All my kids have their own comfort meal. We have one pasta dish that we just call it comfort food. It doesn't even have a name. We did eat a lot of pasta, pastine. Well, and then in the summertime, we'd make all the sauce and the meatballs and freeze it, so we'd have it for the winter. When Lulu was little, it wasn't cool to speak 2 languages. They wanted you to fit in, so they didn't teach you that, and I wish they would have. It would have been cool to have her learn it and then teach us, just because knowing 2 languages is important. But yeah. I think that's part of it too, though, is when you hand it down word of mouth, you do it differently. Like antipasto, I don't think I've ever made that the same way. I always forget one of the ingredients.
I learned how to cook. I learned how to make the pasta sauce, the marinara sauce, from my aunts, not my mother. My father's sisters were cooks. We went to visit Rosetta, where the aunts lived, and they showed me how to do it, or told me how to do it. And one of them said, "You use a half a glass of something," and I'm like, what size glass? Is it a juice glass, or did you mean a water glass? That's how they gave recipes. They had nothing written down. Spaghetti is my comfort food, so if I don't feel well, that's what I would prefer to eat. Pasta of some kind. It doesn't have to be, I know, spaghetti and meatballs. Right? We probably had spaghetti once a week when I was growing up. I can tell you we had it on Monday nights because my father was a doctor and he had office hours in the evening. So we would eat early on Mondays and we had spaghetti because it was easy, and then he would go back to work. So my grandmother from Sicily did not ever speak English. But my father, who spoke Italian because he grew up in an Italian family, could not communicate with her because he knew different dialects. So they really just smiled at each other. And same with my mother, couldn't speak, obviously, their dialect either. So I know the bad words. They apparently are the same in both languages, but that's what I know. Really, I didn't grow up listening to Italian because they could not communicate with each other in Italian. In that generation, we didn't care about Italian. We didn't care about foreign language. So. And Italian was never offered as an option when I was in high school. So it was never something that I the option to learn. It's the rage now, and I think part of it is just from television. Grandmas are known in Italian are known as nonna, but I did not call my grandparents nonna, and I think it was because they wanted to. We were trying to be Americanized, so I never heard the word nonna. I didn't know it until because that may be what I would be instead of boo boo. But a lot of when people ask me for recipes for the local cookbooks, you know, I've happily put in some just so I can carry on the tradition a little bit. It keeps it alive, keeps the Italian alive, and especially here in Iowa, it's a little harder because when we first moved to Lamar's, I can remember my aunt saying, well, how many Italians are here? And it was like, you're looking at them.